ending. But we have Jonny Dyer from Muon Space, his second time on the show. And we actually played a clip from our previous interview yesterday. Right. And we're very excited to talk to him both about what's going on in his world, but I'll welcome him to the show now. How are you doing, Jonny? Good to see you.
Hey guys. Good to see you guys again.
Welcome back. Thanks so much. We enjoyed the previous guest segment immensely. We played a clip from that segment yesterday, and we were trying to contextualize space data centers. We're actually having the founder of the Space Data Center Company come back on the show to defend what's going on, since a lot of people are skeptical. Where do you sit on it now? This all feels like I'm not ready to call it even a binary. I think we should be discussing timelines more than will it ever happen. But how are you thinking about space data centers?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like many things, it's a when, not if. Is it a year from now? Is it 10 years from now? Is it 20 years from now? I don't know. Yep. But I think as you think about generally the future of the planet and where we're going on it, more and more stuff is going to move to space. And so I think it's inevitable at some level that we will have large scale, IT infrastructure in space. I mean, we're probably going to talk about our deal with Starlink in a minute, and that's an example of a place where I think we're starting to really see what I would call truly modern IT infrastructure starting to show up in space, and I think it's inevitable that data centers will go there as well. A lot depends, I think, obviously on the fundamentals of what is going to drive the need for future data center capacity, right? Yeah. And how some of those needs are met, on Earth, and how that would compare to deploying things in space. I think if you ask anybody, even what a terrestrial data center will look like in 5 years, they're probably not going to give you a real confident answer. So I think trying to predict exactly what that's going to look like in space is hard to do right now.
Absolutely. What more can you say about this new partnership?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think one of the things we like to think we're doing at Muon is really pulling a lot of the aerospace industry kicking and screaming out of the Stone Age. And you think about a lot of the stuff that's circling the Earth right now, and it's still connected with things that look like dial-up modems, frankly. I mean, I think we're kind of in an era where a lot of the space technology is a few generations behind what we take for granted on Earth. And this partnership with SpaceX is now going to give our satellites things that look a lot more like an always-on fiber or broadband connection rather than a dial-up connection. And so that's going to completely unlock, a tremendous set of things that have been very difficult or impossible to do in space historically, much as, Starlink has demonstrated with terrestrial use cases. An example that we're all very excited about at Muon is we've been working on this global wildfire constellation for the last several years. This will eventually be a 50+ satellite constellation that will get 20-minute global revisit latency to detect and track wildfires from the earliest stages of their life cycle all the way through to help decision makers on the ground make better decisions. And a really critical piece of making that system work well is getting that data back to people that are making decisions at very low latency. These satellites produce enormous amounts of data. There's going to be 50 of them. So having this kind of fiber connection in the sky is absolutely transformative in terms of being able to deliver a capability that's crucially needed around the world and has not been possible to date. So I think it's a really good example of what this technology can unlock.
Is fiber a metaphor, or are you physically putting fiber in the sky somehow? I mean, people are putting data centers.
We have big glass spools, and we're kind of unwinding them behind.
I mean, we're going to put massive 1 gigawatt data centers in space. Like, I wouldn't be that. That doesn't sound that crazy to put a humanoid
up there with a spool and just letting it out.
Exactly.
So you're not literally putting fiber in the sky. It's more about connectivity between Starlink satellites, or are you putting up your own satellites that are acting as kind of backhaul between the Starlink satellites?
We're basically using Starlink as our backhaul. So you can think about them as sort of our network in the sky. And then we'll be connecting with SpaceX lasers or laser terminals, they call them lasers, into their network and using that network as kind of the backhaul system. So it's not literally unwinding glass fiber in the sky, but actually the technology is very similar to fiber optic, technology on Earth. And a lot of the same componentry is used. We're just sending the light over these kind of free space optical beams, not over glass fibers.
And then who's your customer? Is it someone who has a satellite or a constellation in space that needs to move internet data around while in space, or is it more for speed up terrestrial uses in some way, or just improve the Starlink network?
So we're building satellites for customers. So our satellites, sort of broad range of customers. One of the customers I mentioned is this. There's a global nonprofit that's funding the work on the fire mission. So ultimately, we're building satellites for them. They're Muon satellites that we deploy and operate. And this will now provide sort of a much faster, lower latency network layer for us to operate those satellites on. Other examples of customers we're working with, we have a customer called Hubble that's doing Bluetooth low energy tracking from space. So you can kind of think about like IoT device tracking from space. We have...
the company is called Hubble?
Yeah, it's called Hubble.
What a confusing name. Yeah, I know that there was a contact lens company named Hubble, and that kind of made sense because it's like a wildly different market. But if you're up there in space.
So I can imagine the commercial use cases for that, right? If you have a lot of hardware out around the world and you want to track it in real time, does that have like defense applications as well? Like what are kind of like what's the actual focus there?
Yeah, so I don't want to speak for Hubble. They would better for themselves than I will. They're our customer, but I think their primary focus is on sort of enterprise and commercial use cases. So there's millions of asset tracking devices in the world today that are out tracking shipping containers and remote facility equipment, things like that. And a lot of those are running on kind of these bespoke and frankly very old school satellite networks. That's how they get the data back. And I think Hubble's vision is that we should be doing the same thing we're doing with consumer devices, which is strapping a 9-cent Bluetooth transponder on anything that's out in the world and then being able to track that thing from space. And so we think there's a lot, I think they believe there are many, many commercial and enterprise applications of that. There probably are also, government applications of that. I don't want to speak specifically to them, but I think that's, it's a type, all of these types of technologies, especially with spacecraft, in some way are inherently dual use. So there's always going to be use cases in both the commercial and the government sector.
Give us the fundraising update. I feel like we missed you around a Series B potentially. Do you have news? What's up?
We don't have news. I mean, we raised a kind of a two-part Series B last year, and this year it's a big round for us. I think it totaled about $140 million. We got the gong coming. So yeah, we're doing well on the fundraising side. We're well funded. We've got a lot of business coming in. It's been very exciting days around the company. So it's a pretty exciting path forward right now. We're really just trying to scale the company up a lot. We have a big facility. We're in the Bay Area. We signed a large facility earlier this year, so we'll be kind of 10xing our production capability, our hardware production capability in the South Bay before the end of the year, and then building out a lot of other new technology pieces that we're really excited to talk about as we start to hit space with them.
Incredible.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, great to get that.
Congratulations on the progress. And thanks for breaking all that down for us. Now we know there's not literally fiber cables up in the sky. That's why we asked the dumb question.
We figured it out. Awesome.
Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Cheers, John.
And up next,